Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. You have to excuse me, I have a really bad cold, so there will be a bit of, hopefully not too much coughing. But like, as Japnam Singh said, I've given a lecture once before, and I'd like to thank the organizers this year for inviting me again. I'm always more than happy to come out and discuss and have these kinds of topics, discuss my views and opinions with the Sangat, and it's exciting to be doing it in summer camp, which is a little bit of a bigger group than our winter camp was. So I've been thinking about my topic of Grist Jeevan for a while now. And while I am no example of how to live an ideal Grist Jeevan, as defined in Gurbani, the opportunity to research this topic and think about it has encouraged me to make some changes in my life. So some of you here are married. Some of you were married a few days ago, Japnam Singh and Gurminder Kaur. And some of you are contemplating entering into a Grist Jeevan. You're at that point in your lives right now. And some of you are ways away from entering into Grist Jeevan, but it's still something to think about. So I hope that I have something to offer all of you, whether you are into it, to consider, you know, how you can change your ways, or, you know, maybe you're doing the ideal job. I don't know, but I hope I have something to offer all of you. So we're kind of nearing the end of wedding season, as it's known in most densely populated Punjabi areas. So we all dress up, we attend fancy weddings, you know, receptions, sangeets, or we don't, in order to celebrate the joining of two families. And we celebrate the people, and we celebrate the new era that they're starting in their life. You know, parents and couples, they spend thousands of dollars on these events. And, you know, but what comes after all that celebrating, after all the Punjabi traditions, and after the Lama? You know, what follows after that? So in the past decade, I've kind of seen a disturbing, sad trend that the weddings are becoming more and more lavish. Couples are becoming less and less prepared for what they're going to be facing after the wedding day. Weddings and engagements and marriages are more romanticized in the Western sense, and moving further and further away from what Guru Sahib defines as Grist Jeevan. So, you know, we do the rings, we do the lifestyle picture sessions, we have bridesmaids, we have parties. And I'm not talking about everyone, it's not like a judgment on my part, but you know, the Lama in a lot of weddings are kind of the small part of the whole process. You know, we get up and start congratulating the bride and groom, and the parents, and soon as the Lama are over, and we're not even staying for the Ardas and the Hukamnama that's being taken. As soon as it's, you know, Ramkali Mahla Tija, that's it, we get up. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be celebrating our weddings or, you know, our marriages, that it's not a happy time. What I'm saying is that we're losing focus of what the institution of Grist Jeevan means. And that's why we're seeing higher and higher separation rates and divorce rates amongst our community. And I promise you this is not going to be a rant and rave about any aspects of any Punjabi traditions in weddings, but rather I want to focus on how we go back to the basics and explore what the benefits are of Grist Jeevan and why Sikhs are encouraged to enter into it. So, what is Grist Jeevan? Grist Jeevan is two Amritdhari Sikhs entering into marriage for the purpose of becoming one and entering into a union that will allow them to become closer to Vaheguru. Our Rat Maryada says that a baptized Sikh ought to also get his wife baptized. And I don't think I can go against our Sikh Rat Maryada as it is written today, and say you must be married to undergo the Anandkaraj ceremony. But it used to be that you had to be taking Amrit to get married. Ask your grandparents about this. You know, they'd go and they'd take Amrit before they could even undergo the Anandkaraj ceremony. But now it's only strongly encouraged. However, in my opinion, in order to obtain the ideal Grist Jeevan, you have to be Amritdhari. Because if you have not given your head to your Guru, then how can you take his palla as we hold it during the Nand Karaj ceremony? How can we sing that Shabad? How can we enter into the 4 stages of life that lead us into meeting the divine Guru as outlined into the Lama if we haven't made that initial sacrifice of giving your head to the Guru? Grihast Jivan is meant to bring you closer to Vaheguru, to have a Sathi, a partner, who will be your Sangat for Naam Simran, for Amrit Vela, for Path, for Kirtan, for raising children, for succeeding in your life, and your life aspirations for your life together, whether they be career aspirations, whatever they may be. So do I have to enter into Grihast Jivan? Is it mandatory? So it's not mandatory for a Sikh. However, it is very strongly encouraged. Again and again, it is demonstrated to us in Gurbani that Sikhi is about living amongst the filth, the ego, the dirt of this world, and flourishing as a Gursikh. Unless you meet this challenge, you cannot properly beat the 5 vices, so Kaam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar, as many yogis tried to do. Yogis are people who would abandon their wives, their children, their homes, their jobs in order to go and do bhakti, to meet Vaheguru. So I'm going to tell you a little sakhi that I heard a couple weeks ago. It was from by Kathavachik Bhai Sukha Singh Ji, and he tells the story of a yogi and the tola that came to visit Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Kartarpur Sahib. So the yogis came and they saw Gursikhs picking up manure, washing dishes, picking up the sangat tur, putting it on their matha. And Guru Sahib asked the yogis after the first day, he said, what do you think? What did you see today? And the yogis said, your Sikhs, they're lower than Shudras, the lowest caste. They're doing Shudra jobs. They're picking up dirt. They're full of dirt. You know, they completely kind of turned up their noses at what these Sikhs were doing. And Guru Sahib said, okay, stay here one more day. On the second day, the yogis saw the Guru de Sikh. They were feeding langar. They were doing seva of others. They were making them feel welcome. And at the end of the day, Guru Sahib asked the yogis, what did you see today? What do you think? And they said, your Sikhs, they're good people. They're amazing. And Guru Sahib said, wait, stay one more day. And on the third day, what did the yogis see? They saw Gursikhs who were soothing people, who were in pain. People would come to them dukhi, in tears. And they were wiping away those dukhi tears. They were doing Vaheguru job 24/7. They would sing Kirtan for hours without a bab. And Guru Sahib then asked them, what did you see today? What do you think? And the yogi said, your Sikhs are divine beings. They're Devte. And Guru Sahib said, okay, stay one more day. And they stayed. And they saw the Guru de Sikh doing Amrit Vela. They did Guru Guru. They did Rara Sahib every night together. They did Path all day. And the yogis felt like they were in Sachkhand. Guru Sahib asked them, what did you see today? And the yogis fell to Guru Sahib's feet and they said, we left our homes, we left our wives, we left our children, we left our world. But we didn't get that inner ananda that we saw today. We saw your Gursikhs today and we feel like we are one with God because of the peace that we see on their faces. And the yogis begged of Guru Sahib to tell them, how did they do this? How did they do this while living in this world of torture, death, worldly affairs? How do they attain such peace? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied, my Sikhs know how to live their life amongst the kur, the gandh, the dukh of this world, like a lotus flower remains untouched by any of the filth around it, upon the surface of the water. And the murgai, which is a duck-like creature who stays in the water, but its wings don't get wet. It's not really a duck, it's a little bit different. And he said, Jaise jal mein kamal niralam, murgai nasane. And because they know how to live their lives amongst this filth, they also know how to die. Shabd surat pav sagar tariya nanak naam vakhane. Because they are focused on his name within this world, focused on the Shabad, and they've taken on these vices, not hidden from them, they cross over the terrifying world ocean. Does anybody know who Pai Ramaji was? Did anybody have the opportunity to do Sangat with them? Okay. So someone asked Pai Ramaji, Pai Sahib, is it important to live the life of a householder? And this is a direct quote from how he replied. And he said, yes. If an individual is seeking salvation, then the family life is important. If one attempts to do meditation without being married, then the mind will remain unstable. This is the age of Kaljug. And that's the key point here. We're not in Satyug, we're in Kaljug. And the unstable mind continuously runs towards worldly attractions and a wasteful lifestyle. It takes many years of Simran to stabilize the wandering mind. Even then, lust is a great evil force and will continue to trouble the mind. Most of the great saints and prophets who came to this world were married. Of the 10 gurus, 9 were married. Shri Harkrishna Sahib Ji's light merged with Vaheguru Ji when he was only 8 years old. So he was the only one that wasn't married. Shri Ramchandra Ji, Bhagavan Krishna, Shiv Ji, Mahatma Buddha, Brahma, Muhammad Sahib, they all had families. So it is important to get married. Akal Purkh Vaheguru established all creation in 2 parts. For example, man, woman, night, day, birth, death, youth, old age, sunlight, darkness, earth, sky, sorrow, happiness. Akal Purkh has established this meaningful system. The day is for working and the night is for resting. Married life is for procreation so that life may continue. Those sadhus and sants who say that one should not get married are breaking the divine law. However, there are other great saints who did not get married because they were sent for preaching religion. They have been sent by Guruji himself. Examples of such holy people were Sant Baba Atar Singh Ji Mastawanwale, Sant Baba Jwala Singh Ji Harkhwal, Sant Baba Gurmukh Singh Ji Patiale Wale, Sant Baba Pan Singh Jagrao, and many others. No one can equal their saintliness. They would recite Bani all night and do Simran. And then Pai Ramaji brought it back to himself. He said, it is my own experience how troublesome lust can be when one engages in Vaheguru meditation. I too spent my life as a family man for 5 or 6 years. From the day I was blessed with Guruji's darshan, my mind did not waver. This was a gift of Naam. My life changed. For controlling this distracting influence, it is necessary to do Simran for 10 to 12 hours a day. Then a stage is reached where this vice cannot trouble a devotee. 10 to 12 hours a day of Naam Simran. There are many of us who do not do that, and we're not able to spiritually attain that level. We don't have that kirpa. And I'm not close to it, that's for sure. So Grist Jivan is needed to assist us in controlling the 5 and all 5 of those vices, not just lust. So there's other examples in Gurbani where Grist Jivan is given mahanta, importance. Guru Arjan Dev Ji writes, Nanak Satgur Petyan, Puri Hove Jukt, Hasandiyan, Khilandiyan, Painandiyan, Khavandiyan, Viche Hove Mukt. So this slok essentially refers to his disciple meeting Satguru and obtaining mukti. So that mukti is obtained while laughing, playing, dressing, eating. So in what kind of life do you do all these things? Do you play? Do you dress? Do you eat? It's a life of a householder, a Grist Jivan. So you laugh with your children, your spouse, you play with your children, you dress with them, you eat with them. So why would you choose to live that life alone when you can obtain that mukti while living as a Gristi? And Guru Arjan Dev Ji assures us that we are able to be householders and be one with the true Guru. Bhai Gurdas ji also wrote a lot about Grist Jivan. And I'm just going to go through this Vad here and tell you the meanings as I go along. Jaise sarsrita sakal mein samudar bado. The ocean, samundar, is the greatest out of all the water bodies, the seas, the rivers, the lakes, any kind of water bodies. Mer mein smer bado jagt bakhan hai. Meru is the best of all mountains. Mount Meru was thought to be a sacred mountain in Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain mythology. So Bhai Gurdas ji uses this mountain as an example in his Vaj to help illustrate the point. Tarvar bikhe jaise chandan birk bado. Does anybody know what a chandan tree is? Sorry? Sandalwood. It's a white. So chandan is a white sandalwood tree, and it retains its fragrance for decades. And sandalwood oil is extracted from the wood for use as medicine for many conditions. Liver conditions, gallbladder conditions, UTIs, all this type of stuff. So both the wood and oil from this tree have been highly valued for centuries. Taat mein kanak at uttam ke maan hai. Gold is considered to be the most valuable of all metals. Panchiyan mein hans mrigrajan mein sardul. The hans bird is the best bird amongst birds. Usually the hans means a swan, the swan bird. But there's some debate in all the readings that I was doing whether it's actually the swan. But Bhai Gurdas ji says that the hans bird is the best of all birds. And also he writes that the babbar sher is the best amongst the cat family. Ragan mein Shri Rag Paras Pakhan hai. So Shri Rag is the best rag amongst all rags. That's why it's been given the name Shri Rag. Paras is the best amongst all stones. And in mythology, Paras was a patthar that could turn iron into gold. But in reality, it was a stone vessel that was used in the purification process of gold, but took on a mythological presence. Gyanan mein gyan artyanan mein tyan gur. So out of all the knowledges and meditations, Sadhguru's knowledge and meditation is the best. So using all of these metaphors, so what is the best out of everything? Bhai Gurdas ji then says, Sakal dharm mein grihast pradhan hai. And in the same way, all of the above things are the best. Out of all dharms, grihast dharm is pradhan, the highest, the best. And then Bhai Gurdas ji writes one other Vad here. There's way more. I'm just going to focus on these two. But there's a lot of examples of Grist Jivan, of how Grist Jivan is pradhan in Bhai Gurdas ji's Bani. He writes, Jaise praat samay khage jaat od birk se, bahar aaye baith de bik hi mein aaye ke. So as during morning time, birds fly away from their trees, they live on, and they have their nests on to find food, they come back at night to these same trees to rest. Cheeti cheeta bil mein niksatar gavan ke, behreo past jaise bil hi mein jaye ke. So as the ants and other insects, they go away from their burrows to find food, but then they come back to their burrows at night. Larka larka root jaat tat mat san pukh lage tyage hat ave pushtaye ke. So boys and girls, they get upset, you get mad at your parents, you leave the house, but when you get hungry or you feel remorseful or whatnot, where do you come back to? You come back to your parents' house. Taise greh tyag bhag jaat udas bas asro takht pun grest kota ek. So in the same way, many people renounce their households and wander around, but then they too have to look towards gristis, householders, for support of food, of shelter. So these yogis would come down, they need food, they need shelter, they would come back to the gristis. So this tells us that being a gristi means being self-sufficient and being able to provide for others who are not gristis. And Guru Sahib always values self-sufficiency, and therefore the jivan of a gristi is superior to that of a non-gristi. So for us normal folks, myself, if anybody in the audience feels that they are not in this category, but at least myself, we haven't reached that spiritual level of Bhai Rama Singh Ji or Sant Baba Atar Singh Ji Mastuan Wale. We should enter into Grist Jivan and create Sangat within that Jivan. We should wake up, do Amrit Vela, Naam, Simran, Nitnem together, and do Rairas together at night. As Guru Arjan Dev Ji writes, Andan Kirtan Keval Bakhyan, Grihast mein soi nirvan. A Grihasti who is always doing Kirtan and sings his praises a day and night attains Nirban. You know, the ultimate spiritual level that we're wanting to attain while being a householder. So just changing track a little bit. But then Bhakt Friedji writes about the trappings of a Grihast Jivan. Ja kwari ta chao vivahi ta mamle, Frida eho pashtao, vat kwari na thiye. So this means that when a woman is single, she's full of desire to get married. She wants to be married. But then when she's married, she gets stuck in this janjal. Trouble start. So, O Farid, she has this one regret that she cannot be single, unmarried again. So this is pretty contradictory to what we've been discussing so far. Grihast Jivan is encouraged, recommended. Our gurus lived Grihast Jivans. So what is this about? Can anyone take a guess? No? Okay. I really think that trying to explain this concept to someone who's not married is almost like trying to explain the process of raising a child to someone who doesn't have a child. But I can give some insight into this. Simply put, I think a marriage introduces a whole host of new trappings of rishtedaris, in-laws, children, acquiring material goods as couples, cars, houses, trips, and whatever else makes us happy. These are all things that can move us further away from the Guru if we don't keep a balance. Because Gurbani, Gursikhi is all about balance. It's all about discipline. So I think this is when you lose that balance, you lose that discipline, and you're not in a Grihast Jivan. You're just in a marriage and you're caught in those trappings. And secondly, I believe that entering into marriage exacerbates the hold over those 5 vices over us if we don't have the kamai, if we're not leading a Grihasti Jivan. So Kaam. Bhai Raman Singh Ji said, as we heard earlier, that Kaam is something that can be controlled if one enters into Grihast Jivan. But I think that even within Grihast Jivan, we have to do that kamai and have that soji to understand how to not allow Kaam to interfere with our love for and devotion for Vaheguru. If we let unrestricted lust even within a marriage interfere, then we will feel as the Kavari feels in Bhakt Friedji's slok. We'll feel, why can I not be a Kavari again? Why do I want to be stuck in this trap? Krodh. Krodh expresses itself in several forms, from silent sullenness. How many of you are married out here? Okay. So, you know when your wife kind of goes quiet and doesn't talk to you anymore? And, you know, she might not be yelling, but she's not talking to you. Yeah, that's a silent sullenness.
It's never happened.
Then you, my friend, are in Grihast Jivan without Krodh. So that silent sullenness to hysterical tantrums and violence. Man, there's nothing that will get you more hysterically violent than a partner, living with a partner who doesn't put his clothes in the laundry hamper or eats your food. Not pointing any fingers to Hardeep Singh back there. But all joking aside, when you are single, living with parents or on your own, you don't have anyone to really answer to for your day-to-day activities. You know, you finish your education, you're working, your parents, as you grow, as you grow older, they allow you a bit more freedom. They allow you to be your own person. And even if you don't have this independence from your parents, it will feel different with your spouse. If you're married, you'll understand where I'm going. If you aren't married or are newly married, just imagine going from being your own person to living with a person day in and day out, sharing a bed, a bathroom, a vehicle maybe, making all your plans with that person, having to consider their needs in everything. It takes adjustment. It makes you susceptible to growth-filled situations. Sometimes, on a serious note, there are deeper issues at play that can lead to more than just the day-to-day anger and rage. But whether it's a deeper issue, whether it's the day-to-day activities, in order to control yourself, to control your growth as a gristi, you need to do that naam kamai together. Otherwise, what happens is that those growth-filled situations, those fights, that stuff you say to each other, you do to each other that may be hateful or hurtful, after you're done fighting, you apologize and you forgive. But those words that you were said with hate can start to create a crack in the foundation of your gristi jivan. So there's that saying where sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can't hurt me. Well, it's not true. Because if you say something so hurtful and hateful and krodh, it will start to impact that foundation of your marriage, of your gristi jivan. Lobh is a strong desire for worldly possessions and a constant focus on possessing material items, especially the urge to possess what rightfully belongs to others. And I think this is exacerbated by marriage, because it's a point in your life where you start to build a life together. You start to buy houses, you start to buy furniture, electronics, cars, have children, buy clothes for them, and get an education for them. Just buy stuff, so much stuff. And we start competing with others. We might not do it outright, and sometimes we might not even notice it. But we will eye what other people have with an envious eye. We desire it. We are never happy with just what we have. We don't, as a community, I think we give less to Swan than we used to before, let alone do seva above and beyond that. We're so consumed by acquiring worldly possessions, and I think this is definitely exacerbated once we start settling down into marriage. And again, Kamai and Naam Simran help us focus on what is important to acquire, do seva of the less fortunate, and give to the needy or panthic causes which help Sikhs flourish. We all know the next one is mo. We have mo for our children, our parents, our spouses, our houses, our things, our people. We're living a life thinking we'll be here forever. But in the back of our minds, we know that it's not true. That this is all transitionary, and it can and it will be gone in a second. But I think the gristi life really, really exacerbates this one, especially once you have children. There's no amount of mo for anything in this world that can compare to the mo you have for your children. This may not be true for everyone, but it is true for me. Even before they're born, you're attached to your child. You feel your child's pain. As some of you know, my son broke his leg earlier this summer, and so many times it crossed my mind, why couldn't it have been me? I would gladly have taken on his pain. However, children, spouses, relatives, they're put on this world to give us sukh and dukh. We have to remember this. The only one who can give us sukh and constant peace is Vaheguru. So we need to find a balance. Sikhi, again, I say this repeatedly, is about discipline, it's about balance. We need to live within that grist jivan because it gives you sangat and makes you self-sufficient, but you need to do it without getting too attached to the people and the things around you. In order to do that, what do you need? Naam Simran and Kamai. And the last one is Hankar. Hankar is a big one in grist jivan. It's, as we all know, it's thought to be the root of all evil. It breeds jealousy. It breeds a feeling of self-importance. So I was talking to someone a couple of days ago about grist jivan, and they shared with me something that they had heard in a katha. So say I leave, a very simple example. So say I leave a pot on the stove, and whatever was in that pot was dinner and it burns. So you come home super hungry and you find out dinner is burnt. And even as you start to speak out in anger, your mind is telling you to stop, but you feel justified in going at the other person. How could you be so careless? Don't you know how hungry I am? Why didn't you turn that stove off? What were you doing that was so important? You know, you think to yourself, I would never let that happen. And a few weeks pass and the same thing happens to you, and guess what you do? You laugh it off saying, oh, it can happen to anyone. And it's a small example, and I mean, there's a lot more complex examples of this, but it's that feeling of self-importance, or that feeling of I'm always right, or I'm better than that person. Thinking you have better control of situations and things than other people do. Whereas if you were actually able to stop and watch and get over your hankar, you would learn more ways than what you know and do all the time. You would learn better ways of doing things. Even if you're the best, you can still learn from someone. And the opposite of this hankar, humility. I've had the great opportunity of doing Sangat of Bhai Sahib Jeevan Singh Ji, and he used to say Sat Bachan to whatever his Singhni would say to him. You know, Bhai Sahib would say, I want to go here, I want to go to this program, and he'd say, "Nahi, tusi aaram karna, tusi kite nahi jana, aaram karo." And he would say Sat Bachan, and then he would go. But, you know, he would think something different. But he would not argue. He would not speak loudly or in anger or in hankar. He just said Sat Bachan and showed such humility and pyar. So yes, marriage can get you caught in all kinds of janjals, distractions, and make you wish that you've never taken that step and fill you with regret. But in a Gursikh Gristi Jeevan, you overcome those feelings, the vices that drive you to feel that way away. You can overcome those vices. And how do you do that? You do that by making your sathi, your partner, your life partner, your sad sangat. So I want to talk a little bit about Grist Jeevan today. In the beginning, I talked about how I saw us moving away from Grist Jeevan, or couples not actually realizing what a Grist Jeevan entails. I want to open this question up to you guys. What are you looking for in a life partner? Or if you're married, what made you choose your life partner? And you can be honest here, because the camera's on me, not on you. So what are you looking for in a life partner? I'm not doing matrimonials. I really only am doing this for discussion. Sorry?
Some people don't have choice.
You already have no choice. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, Tanveer Kaur?
Someone who's way better person than me, so they can help me overcome there.
Okay, someone who's a better Gursikh than you, who can make you a better Gursikh. There was someone over here with a hand up.
Someone who shares the same ideals as you.
Same ideals as you, okay. Anybody else? Anybody who's married, what made you choose your partner? Or, you know, if they were chosen for you, what do you find great in your partner?
Good communication.
Okay, good communication. In the back?
The best thing, your person needs to always support you in every decision.
So,
You're wrong, you're right. But if he's supporting you, you always know you are wrong or right.
okay. So support in every decision, okay? What else is there?
Having a foundation for the kids, meaning that you know that when you leave, go to work, at least your kids are well taken care of. The foundation is for them to get beyond
Okay.
from their mom.
All right, so that ability to provide that environment filled with pyar and that foundation for your children, okay? Anybody else? Are you looking for educational compatibility? Yes, no? Okay, educational compatibility. A certain age? Yes, did you look at a certain age? What comes to mind when you think about marriage? I'm never going to do it? Because that's good advice. No, I'm just joking. What comes to mind when you think about marriage? Sorry, a lot of people are saying things really lightly and I can't hear you.
Scary.
It's scary, yeah. Change. Okay. All right. Do you consider their educational, career aspirations? How many of you would honestly say to you that the caste of who you marry matters to you or your parents? Or no one's going to admit to this. Or maybe that's not true here. Okay? I think there's a bunch of questions that you need to consider to yourself, that you need to think about before we're thinking about marriage. And I actually did these slides reverse. Amritari. If you are Amritari, do you think it's important to talk to someone who is Amritari or to meet someone who's Amritari? Okay, that's an important question. Amrit Vela. Do you do Amrit Vela? If not, if you don't do it yourself and you're looking for a Sati, someone said they're looking for a better Gursik than they are. So that might be, I value Amrit Vela, I want to do it every day. Do you value it? Would you like to, continue doing this once we're married? How important is it for you to do Netanim together in the morning and evening? What do you want to teach our children? What values are important for you to pass on to them? Gurbani, Kant, Kirtan, education, whatever it may be. What's the most important thing to you in our relationship? Those are the type of questions you need to be asking yourself. The education, the career aspirations, all of that is important. But there's so many inspirational stories in Bhai Sahib Bhai and Tir Singh Ji's books that speak of Sikh couples doing bhakti, seva, naam simran together. Read those. Seek inspiration. All through history, there's amazing stories of Sikh couples who gave up everything to do, things for their guru. Look to your gurus first and foremost for guidance. Guru Nanak Dev Ji showed us that he had no attachment to his sons when he gave his Gur Gaddi to Bhai Laina Ji. He did what was best for Sikhi, for Vaheguru. He was the ideal Gristi. He had no moh, he had no lobe, no greed to carry on the guruship in his blood lineage. Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave up his sons for Sikhi. He let go of any moh. He treated all of his sons and daughters, whether they be biological or not, the same. Our gurus were all amazing Gristis. So we need to read their Sakhis and their Bani, most importantly, to find your inspiration, to see what kind of Sati you're looking for what virtues you should have as a Gristi Gursik. And even when we find our Sati, and let's actually go back to this slide here, some of the ways to find your Satis: in Sad Sangat, through families, through Gursiks. And when I say in Sad Sangat, what I'm saying is, if you're hanging out with your college buddies who are not Amritari or, drinking or doing whatever all the time, what are the chances, and that's your main primary Sangat, what are your chances of finding a good Sati for your Gristi Jivan? Not very good, right? It's basic. But that's when you hear, I've fallen in love with someone who's not Amritari or who's not even Sikh or whatnot. Look at what's important to you, evaluate that, and then surround yourself with that type of Sangat. And even when we find that Sati, that life partner, and when the wedding time comes around, we focus on what are we going to wear? Who are we surrounded by? The events, the celebration. These things are important to you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But stop and think. Stop and think about the step that you're about to take. Stop and think about the real purpose behind getting married. What this step means to you. You're joining together with this one person who's going to help you attain your spiritual goals in this lifetime. Together you're going to work towards meeting Vaheguru. That's the ultimate goal. That's the end. So let's talk about some of the issues that exist in marriages today, what happens when there's conflict? So conflict in marriage is inevitable, especially for us normal humans. If someone tells you that they never fight, that they never argue, either they're lying or there's something seriously wrong, or they've reached a spiritual level that can't be attained. I mean, who am I to judge? So what do you think brings about marriage, conflict in a marriage? And how can we resolve that conflict? And I talked about what brings about that conflict. I mean, there's issues of lob, there's issues of mo, there's issues of, you know, attachment to your family. You're not supporting my parents, you're not listening to my parents, you're not listening to my... There's a bunch of issues that come across in marriages. But how can we resolve it? We can talk to our elders, we can go to couples counseling, but most importantly, there needs to be more focus on non-binding. There needs to be compromise on issues. You need to practice humility. Marriage will make you the most humble person if you do it right. And if you're not able to resolve that conflict, here's an issue that faces our community a lot. In the last 10 years, it's becoming more and more common in Gursikh families. It was rare before that. And like I said, many issues come back to adultery, krodh, abuse, lob, financial issues, mo, extended family issues, hankar, ego, lack of humility, lack of compromise. I think all of these things can probably cover the range of issues that face us today in our Gursikh families that are facing divorce. And I think it should be avoided. And do you guys think that there's any situations where you think divorce is justified? Or do you think it's something that just should not happen?
Yes, it is justified.
Sorry?
It is justified.
It is justified. In what situations?
As it happened to my daughter.
Okay.
The people from England knows, or you may be my Aman.
Okay.
Before coming to city, he was like druggist, drinking, going to pubs and all. Then while coming to Sikh camp, Khalsa camp in England, they came back to Sikhi.
Okay.
We never knew about that family, never knew about him, but just we saw a good Gursikh. He was good then, you know. Then my daughter got married. Then after like 6-7 years, he had 2 girls. Then he, because he never learned Punjabi, was always speaking English, minimum Punjabi, never understood Punjabi, never always listened to Nitnem, never did Nitnem. So there was what I think there was the cause. So he went back to same situations where he was before Amritdhari.
Okay.
He cut his head, you know, his hairs, you know, his drunkard, going to pubs again. So that is the situation when I told my daughter, just divorce it.
Okay. So you can't live a Gursti Jeevan with someone who's not a Gursikh, right? So in that situation. Okay, back there.
Yeah, sometimes divorce is justified nowadays because Khalsa and very much topics occurring in India too. Before in India there was nothing kind of divorce happening there. But nowadays people lie for Islam. First they say, especially it just happened to somebody close to me, they said, the guy said we are Peshi, everything we are. And after that they married, the girl found out they're not even page. And she told that you have a page in the Khaniki Jata, and they said, what's the Jata is Khaniki, there. So they didn't get the models came, so how can they?
So a difference in values. Okay, so there we have someone who's, you know, in a situation if there's, and I'm wanting opinions. I mean, I have my own opinion and everybody else has their own opinions, right? So if you can't continue on being a Gursikh and a Gursti Jeevan, you are no longer a Gursikh and you see no other option, or there's a difference in values and you cannot continue on in your life. You guys believe that divorce is justified. I just wanted to see some opinions out there. Is there anybody else that, and that, yes?
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence, okay. Anything else? Okay, so this comes, sorry. Yes, getting married to get PR cards. You probably shouldn't do that in the first place. Okay, so, always the comedian. Okay, so, you know, what it comes down to is we're not asking the right question. We're not going with someone who has similar values, who has, you know, if you find someone who doesn't do, and that's, someone said earlier, I want to marry someone who will make me a better Gursikh. But you need to have that desire also. This person alone cannot pull you to be a better Gursikh. You know, because there's a danger in that. What if you pull them down? That's why you have to have those discussions about your Sikhi, about where you want to go and what aspirations you have in terms of your Sikhi. And so the bottom of all of this, besides the PR cards, is that, you know, we're not asking the right questions in the beginning. But in other situations where these 5 vices come into play, we really need to focus on Naam Bani, on that Kamai. Pai Sahib Jeevan Singh Ji once told me that the best way to get over the thought of I'm better than that other person, because face it, that's the bottom line of a lot of domestic arguments. Or that thought that that person is not good, is not right, and is always wrong, is to remember the shabd, Guna ka hove vasla kad vasl ijai, je gun hovan sajna mil sanj krijai. Sanj krijai guna keri chhod avgun chaliye, pehre patambar kar adambar apna pid maliye, jithe jaye behiye, pala kahiye, chol amrit pijai, guna ka hove vasla kad vasl ijai. So essentially it's saying that you take the virtues from this person and you share in them. You form a partnership, you abandon, and then together you shake off your avgurns and you walk on the path of Guru. So he's saying, Guru Sahib saying, wear these virtues like silk clothes and let us speak of goodness wherever we go and sit. And just enjoy the virtues of the other person. Focus on those. And it's hard. I know that it's hard. But if you keep this shabad in the back of your mind, anytime you're in an argument, that humility, and say, what is the good I see in this person? Then you kind of get a different perspective on things. And I've learned this. I have a tendency to always rush through things. I just keep going. I don't stop. I'm impatient. I have control issues in the sense that, you know, I want things done in a certain way. You know, my husband makes the bed and he says, what's the point? You're just going to make it over again. You know, so I have these issues. And my husband, he'll contemplate things. He doesn't rush around. He's, you know, he's the calm, rational one in an emergency. And sometimes when I'm rushing around, I don't think about the best way to get things done. I make mistakes and then I have to redo things. And sometimes I'm so in such a rush, I make multiple mistakes. So it's a balance. We need to find a medium that works for both of us. We need to find a discipline that works for both of us. And there are times where I think I do things better than him. And I'm sure he thinks the same. But, you know, this is Hankar getting in our way. And with our Naam Simran, our Amrit Vela, and our Kamai, any Gristi can overcome this. And I don't want to leave you guys on the note of divorce. So let's talk about some of the benefits of Grist Jeevan. It helps you meet Vaheguru. It helps you become self-sufficient, not rely on others, support others. And most importantly, it gives you a partner, a Sathi, to help you cross the terrifying path of this world. Finally, I referred to a Pangti at the beginning of my lecture, Jaise jal mein kamal nirala murgai mein sane. So this refers to a lotus flower which floats above the water. And Kathavasik Sukha Singh talked about the 4 virtues of a lotus flower. And he says that we should integrate these virtues into our Gristi Jeevan. And the first virtue is that a true lotus flower, no matter how much a storm comes, rain comes, a true lotus flower will never drown. So if you live in a proper Grist Jeevan, no matter how much dukh, pain, and suffering rains down on you. As a family person living in a household, a true Gursikh living in a Grist Jivan will never drown. With so much pain, Gursikh will hold the Guru's palla even harder. Jesuk deta tujhe aradi. The more pain comes, the closer you are meant to get to the Guru. The second virtue of a lotus flower is that it faces the sun. You know, people are going to talk crap. They're going to throw crap at you. They're going to do chugli. They're going to do nindya. You're going to do nindya. But your face needs to stay towards the Guru. Always. The sun fills the flower with a beautiful scent. And if a Gursikh keeps his face towards the Guru, Guru Sahib will give that Sikh his qualities, his scent, his love, just as the sun does to the lotus flower. The third virtue of a lotus flower is that even if it lives in the mud, it gives off this beautiful scent. It doesn't stink. We live in a world with all kinds of bop. It stinks with bop. A Gristi Gursikh will live in this world and give off a beautiful scent, an aura. And the final quality of a lotus flower is that dirty flies that spread disease, a true lotus flower, or sit on dung, it won't sit on a lotus flower. Only bees surround this flower, and they spread pollen, and they make honey. So they spread beautiful sweetness. If you live your life like a lotus flower, in your life, people like bees will be attracted to you, including good Jivan Sathis. So they will feel the fragrance of your love and your devotion, and they will take that love and devotion and they'll spread it throughout the world. So you and your Sathi together have to act as this lotus flower. And our Gurus declared that marriage is a bond to never be broken, and we join together as one soul, and as the Lama Dapar teaches us, to become one with Vaheguru, to hold his palla for life. And that's what Gursikh Jivan, Gristi Jivan is. Tan per e na aakiye, bain ikatthe hoye, ek jod doy murti, tan per kahiye soye. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki Fateh.